Hello everyone, my name's Cliff and welcome back to my channel. This is Cliff's Dark Gems. And if you're new here, welcome for the first time. Yeah, and tonight we're going to do my wrap up for the month of May. And that includes Horror Mayhem as well as Zombiethon. One book I read for Zombiethon. So stay tuned. Okay everyone, so it was wonderful being part of Horror Mayhem, being a co-host, and yeah, I'm very grateful to be part of that, and so I'm going to link everyone down below, the hosts, the co-hosts and everything. And yeah, it was all about reading short horror this month for me, or mostly short horror besides my book club pick. And yeah, I had a lot of fun. I didn't read maybe as much as I wanted to, but I did read a lot of good short horror stories, some excellent, but there was one novella that I DNF'd people, and that was Zombie by Joyce Carol Oates. And I'm sorry, could not get into this one. The narration really did not work for me, the writing style did not work for me, and yeah, and I hear this mentioned time and again on Goodreads. I know that it's supposed to be frickin' disturbing, sort of a portrait of a serial killer getting inside his head. And I was hoping I was really going to enjoy it, but I just found it, yeah, I gave it a good shot. I read about 100 pages, and like in the first 80 pages not a lot happens. It's just him and his life and his family, and it kind of goes back to maybe a child abuse case when he was younger. And he refers to his parents not by their names, by their initials. He refers to himself by initials. And the narration is terrible. I couldn't get into it. And yeah, so I know it probably gets really disturbing from when I left on, from when I dropped it. But it's okay. You know, if you want to read a really beautifully written story about serial killers that's incredibly disturbing, then I would go with Exquisite Corpse. So yeah, Zombie, sorry, had to drop it. Okay, let's start with the stories that I have read. I haven't read a huge amount this month, to be honest, but I did read a good amount of short stories, short novellas, and I'm going to start with H.P. Lovecraft. So let's go back to the earliest books that I've read, and let's go to 1921, H.P. Lovecraft, The Nameless City, and it's about a traveller. It's a first person narration, and he's somewhere in the deserts of Arabia. There's high wind, and it's very atmospheric, the story, and yeah, he comes across this ancient ruin and decides to explore this ancient ruin. He goes deeper and deeper inside, and it's full of existential dread, and yeah, it finds this the remains of this lost civilization, sort of dates way before men, and yeah, it's early writing of Lovecraft. It feels a bit underdeveloped. There's not much of a story to it, but the writing is gorgeous, and I did enjoy it. It does fill you with dread and atmosphere, and I had fun with it. So yeah, that's The Nameless City by H.P. Lovecraft. Okay, let's head off to the 60s, and now this is the first book that I've read from cover to cover. And that's the fifth Pan book of horror stories, and I was delighted by how much I enjoyed this people, and I actually want to track down the entire series. I'm hoping that I can find some of the other, you know, the kind of first entries, part 1 to part 4, and then after that, in my little bookshop, because I had a lot of fun with this. You know, the kind of quality, yeah, there were a few stories that, I don't know, it was kind of okay, but it was pretty good overall, and there were some real standouts for me. I don't want to talk about those. The one is called The Revenge by Adobe James, and this was the nastiest tale of the bunch, and in my opinion the best tale of the bunch. And yeah, it's about these two men and their best friends, and they fall in love with this woman, this beautiful woman, and she chooses one of them. But yeah, the guy's really sad, but yeah, they get married. The guy's still his friends. He's the best man. And yeah, so the husband and wife on honeymoon. And one night, on the first night of honeymoon, I think, he's going for a swim, and his wife gets beaten up and brutally raped. And so the guy calls a friend, and they decide to track down this guy, the rapist, without going to the police. And it becomes kind of an obsession to find this man who hurt his wife. And it's brutal, people. And I still think about the ending, and yeah, it's very, very effective and very well written, very full of suspense and tension, and yeah, it is just nasty tale, and I loved it. And then the other one I really, really enjoyed was The Small World of Louis Stillman by William F. Nolan. Now this kind of is reminiscent of I Am Legend. It reminds me of I Am Legend. That's like the last man on Earth, or in this city, and it's after an alien invasion, and he has to survive. He's got his guns, but he can't shoot because it's going to alert everyone. All these other little alien creatures, whatever, and it's very, very suspenseful, full of tension, and it's got the most awesome twist in the end. I really enjoyed that. But I have to say, this whole series, this whole book, there's some excellent stories here. I'll Love You Always, also by Adobe James. That's a new author that I've discovered. A lot of these authors, in fact all of these authors I've never heard of before. So yeah, I'm gonna go into the series a bit more. It's a lot of fun. Very, very well written stories. So yeah, that is the 5th Pan book of horror. Gotta love the cover. Okay, and the next book I read, 1970s now, and it is Lair by James Herbert. Now, this is a follow-up to The Rats, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and I have to say, I think I enjoyed this one more. Bloody, gory, a lot of fun, and I read this over with John at DisquietandDragons, with his Discord. Yeah, he's doing a James Herbert read-through of all the books by James Herbert, and I'm actually now dying, and I'm waiting for the last one in the series. And I have to say, this book, it's also incredibly gory. Maybe not as nasty as the first one, but I think it had a better story, and I enjoyed the characters more. And in the case of this book, there was more like a slow build-up. Introduced the characters. You could see the stuff that's going wrong, and it build up. When that shit hits a fan, it really does hit the fan, and it's nasty and it's bloody, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. And also there's just some very, very inappropriate scenes, sex scenes, and kind of cringy, but you get a little bit of everything in this book. And also it's set in the countryside, the English countryside, the woodlands, which is a nice change from the first book, which was set in London. And obviously, yeah, you got rats. You got big mutant rats that just love the taste of human flesh, pretty much anything. And really, people, check your trigger warnings for both these books. It gets pretty gross. But yeah, the story had me engaged a lot more. It was a lot more fun on many different levels. And they had this character that was so much fun. Yeah, it was you had this streaker guy to show off his private parts, and his timing was terrible. And he was like a gym teacher at the high school. And he'd go off at lunch break, and he'd go off into the woods, find little old ladies or ladies walking, hiking, and yeah, it was kind of hilarious. It was funny. Yeah, it's a great book. It's not 5 stars, it was 4 stars for me, but I still had a lot of fun. So that is The Lair. Okay, we move to the 1980s, and I've got 2 books for you here. And I'm going to start with Dark Forces. And this is edited by Kirby McCauley. And this is a fantastic collection, and I've spoken about this already on my channel. And it really is an awesome collection. I'm going to kind of sell it for a little bit. I only read a couple of stories this month from the collection. But I'm going to talk once again about some of the authors that you'll find here. And also, just the thing is that this is 1980s, and a lot of the horror in this book, kind of some quiet horror, and some horror is a lot more kind of moody and atmospheric, and doesn't rely so much on kind of splatterpunk or nasty stuff, but it's still really, really, really good. And even though maybe there were one or two stories that were kind of weak links for me, the majority of these stories were really, really good. And there was a couple of standouts. Let me mention them quickly. The Late Shift by Dennis Etchison. Now, I read that this month, and it's fantastic. I really enjoy it. It's like set in, I think, something in Texas, or in California, or Texas, or something. Oh no, I can't remember. But it's about these two kind of losers, and they're coming back from a late night showing of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And they stop at this kind of all-night store to get some supplies. And they go in there, and there's something not quite right with the person behind the till. You know, it doesn't seem quite right. Like, yes, please, please, please. It doesn't seem quite coherent, not all there. It's this fantastic story. It's almost like a very strange take on zombies. And I'm also reading Zombiethon this month. So, yeah, it's just a fantastic story. And then I also love Dark Angel, which is a revenge tale, very nasty, and that's by Edward Bryant. And then I loved Children of the Kingdom by T.E.D. Klein, fantastic story. I sat in New York and these mysterious creatures, and it's got Lovecraftian influence, you can see, and it's also more a novella, like also The Mist is in this story, is in this book. And in fact, if you haven't read The Mist, it's worth the price of admission if you read Stephen King. The Mist is in this book. But yeah, T.E.D. Klein. And then you also got The Brood by Ramsey Campbell. Wow, that is a terrifying story. Incredibly, incredibly creepy and nasty. And then you got Where the Stones Grow by Liza Tuttle. Probably my favourite story by her. I have her collection. No, I can't remember what the name of the collection is. I'll put it up here. But this particular story really grabbed me. So yeah. And there's even a story by Richard Matheson and his son, Richard Christian Matheson, called Where There's a Will. That's very good as well. So yeah, there's like 26 stories in this book. Highly recommend Dark Forces. Yeah. And the other 80s book I'm going to talk about is Tales of Sex and Death, Scared Stiff. And I have already spoken about this in my reading update earlier in the month. But yeah, this was actually really good. I didn't expect it to be, because I had DNF'd it before. But once you get into the stories, it's great. But I have to tell you, once again, this is not a book of erotica. You're not going to get off in these stories. This is not a book that's going to turn you on. It's horror, it's bleak, it's nasty. I mean, it ranges from everything from like kind of sex dolls. This guy's obsession with a doll, I think it's called, let's see the name of the story. Lilith, yeah, Lilith. Yeah, he becomes obsessed with a sex doll. You can do things for him that his wife can't, apparently. And then there is, yeah, The Other Woman, which is really brilliant. This guy's obsession with this painting of this woman that sort of comes to life in his head. Sexually, I'm not going to go there. And there's Love Man's Comeback, which was probably my favourite in the collection. And yeah, kind of deals with necrophilia. Not like in a blatant, but yeah, it's kind of a twisted story. And it was definitely, for me, the darkest and most perverse and disturbing story out of the lot. And it's got a twist in the end that you don't see coming. So yeah, Scared Stiff. Okay, the last book is in the 2000s, and I didn't read it so much for Horror Mayhem, but as a tribute to Zombiethon, which is an awesome reading event, created by Kat from Kat's Novel Adventures. And on my Discord, well, Kritz from Secrets Reads and myself, we got a Discord, and we got a book club called Fright Club. And we decided to do the theme of zombies this month because it's Zombiethon. And the book that was chosen was My Life as a White Trash Zombie by Diana Rowland. Look at that awesome freaking cover. And yeah, we're going to have a live chat this Sunday. It's going to be on my channel. I will provide details closer to the time. And I really enjoyed this book. And I was surprised because it did not read like a horror. It's more like a kind of urban fantasy, sort of fantasy. But it was kind of gory. But it was a very, very different kind of book for me. And not at all like kind of the zombie book that I was expecting. But it was so good. And as I say, I don't really want to talk about it because it's going to be live and we're going to really discuss this book. But let me just tell you quickly what it's about from Goodreads. Let me just give you a quick breakdown and then just say just a few things. And it's a great book, people. Angel Crawford is a loser, living with her alcoholic father in the swamps of southern Louisiana. She's a high school dropout with a pill habit and a criminal record, who's been fired for more crap jobs than she can count. Now on probation for a felony, it seems that she will never pull herself out of the downward spiral her life has taken. So basically, she's a loser. At the beginning of the story, she's a loser, right? And what I love about this book is just the character development. I love Angel. And you get to really love her if you read this book. And how she... No, I'm not going to say any more. Let me just go on to the next paragraph. That is until one day she wakes up in the ER after overdosing on pain pills. She remembers being in a horrible car accident, but doesn't have a mark on her. There's no blood, nothing. But she remembers the blood and the pain. To add to the weirdness, she receives an anonymous letter while she's in the ER, telling her there's a job waiting for her at the morgue and that it is an offer she doesn't dare refuse. So she has to work at the morgue. Before she knows it, she's dealing with a brand new addiction, an overpowering craving for brains. Yes. This is the most original zombie tale I've ever read, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But I'm not going to say any more because I don't want to give too much away before Sunday. You must join us there. Join us. Join us. Okay, everyone, that's my wrap up for this month. I did have a fun month. I didn't read like 10 books, 15 books, 20 books, but that's okay. I'm not putting pressure on myself anymore. Well, actually I am this month. If you see my last video, putting a lot of pressure on myself. But it's okay if I don't get through everything. I'm just going to enjoy myself. And that's what's most important. Otherwise, why the hell am I doing this in front of the camera? Right. Yeah. But let me know if you've read any of those stories and short stories. Let me know what you've been up to this month. And yeah, I'm thinking of all of you. Take care of yourselves. Look after yourselves. Keep those pages turning. And cheers.